Many thanks for staying tuned. It's still the conversation here on Lagos Television. Of course, today is May 29th, and it is the midterm commemoration of Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. On the side of the table this morning, we'll be taking a look at this man, Tinubu, who has been described as Nigeria's 21st century political strategist. Why is he a strategist? What are some of those things about this man that make him special in his own right, not only as an individual, but as a politician? Remember, he was two-term governor of Lagos State. He was a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and now the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Joining the team this morning on a review of this conversation is a political analyst, Lukman Owolabi. Thank you for being here on the program today.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Okay. Right. Looks like this your cap. Looks like the cap that Tinubu started with
Like
many years ago. Lukman, I know that you are one who's also quite who's also on the political space, has an idea of where we're coming from and who this man that we're talking about today, what he represents. For you, let's talk about Bola Tinubu, not as the president of Nigeria, Bola Tinubu as a politician, Bola Tinubu as a strategist. If you were to give 5 things for you that makes Bola Tinubu unique, can you name those 5 things on your fingertips?
I'll probably name 20.
That's why I said 5. That's why I said 5.
Well, you see, Bola Tinubu, the man, is the icon of the seas. When we talk about politicians in Nigeria, is one of the most strategic, consistent, progressive figures we have seen in Nigerian politics. Is the Rolls Royce of politics. Is the elephant of politics. Is the A380
wow.
of politics. In fact, is the SS Gerald Ford of politics in Nigeria. Yeah, when it comes to someone who knows what he wants to do and how to go about it, there is no other person like him. We have had politicians who are great organizers. You know, Chief Obafemi Awolowo was a great organizer. He can organize anything. Ahmadu Bello, the Sardauna of Sokoto, was also a great organizer. When it comes to implementing your hopes and dreams, navigating, you know, the journey to success, Bola Tinubu is up there. Sometimes, perhaps the circumstances of birth of a person can also increase your survival instinct. And I think that must have played a role, you know, in the formative years of Bola Tinubu. When you know that someone left a lucrative job as a treasurer, you know, of an organization like Mobile and says, I am going into politics, that means the person realizes that politics is the highest service you can give. Because there's no other like it. Politics controls our life. Politics defines a country. So the man that would be in politics must know that he has a date with destiny. So from that time, he had envisioned what he wanted for himself and how he wanted to go about it. And that's why he ran for Senate in 1992. And he aligned with the progressives. He cut his teeth in the Yaradua faction of PF. That's Shehu Yaradua's organization. What was it called then? Something Front, People's Front, I think. He aligned with them, you know, including guys like Atiku Abubakar, Yomi Edu, Dipo Sarumi, and the rest of them. You know, they were all there. He aligned with them, and from there, he spread out, became, it became a first reckoner. He became a senator. And when the issue of June 12 came, you also remember the role he played. He was very steadfast and said, no, this is a fight we must fight. Sometimes you don't fight a fight because you have to win. You fight a fight worth fighting. And that was exactly what he did, you know, which also led him to exile and the rest of them. He became a central figure in Nadeco, and every person in Nadeco rallied around him. He provided succor for many of them, showed direction, showed leadership, and it was recognized. So much so that when the Fourth Republic was going to start and people were jostling for positions, someone had to remind, you know, the men in charge that come, what of this guy that has done so much, that we know is a progressive, a fighter, and is from Lagos? What of that guy? And they said, why? You are correct. So they set out and said, those who have been jostling, relax. This is someone that has to come. We have somebody that we want to put in there. And that was how the name of Asiwaju Bola Tinubu came in. In fact, when they were registering him, he was not here. He was still on exile. He was still in exile, and they were even, I think it was Tokunbo Afikuyomi that was filling the form for him. So when he told Tokunbo Afikuyomi that he graduated from Chicago State University, Tokunbo Afikuyomi wrote University of Chicago. That's how the mix-up came. Yeah, that's how the mix-up and the controversy came regarding University of Chicago and Chicago State University. And we are still battling that till now. You know, it's a recurring decimal. So, and that's how, you know, he became governor. And when he became governor, he enunciated what he wanted to do as governor. He didn't rush. He established a political and economic think tank, and when he came into governance, he didn't rush at all. He just waited for the think tank to submit their report. In fact, they extended the time for the submission of the report. He waited for them, and when they came, he started implementing everything. The recommendations. I remember that time, negotiators were already shouting, I hope we are not having another I hope you are not, you know, because it didn't. It was taking time. It was taking a bit of time to implement some of those policies. And then when it started, you know, gracefully, and he picked on, you know, a few roads. Picked on, I remember it was Oregon Road that time. He picked on Awolowo Road in Ikoyi. He picked on Yaba to Itire Road, and then they started laying. Lo and look at those roads today. They are still in tip-top shape when he did them in 2021. So you know that this man already knows what he's doing. And then he took on the Central Business District in Lagos, and then introduced the PSP. Everybody remembers that when we came in 1999, we had mountains of refuse everywhere. It was mountain, and then they had to sit down and say, how do we tackle this? And that was how the PSP, the PSP came in. And then you remember that time they were using rickety trucks. You know, in fact, some people, when they are taking the refuse out, some people were saying, this is not refuse disposal, this is refuse disperser. Because they were dispersing refuse. And so we have come a long way. The same people, you know, they have scaled up, and, you know, everything is moving. And then you also look at how he envisioned Lagos to be, the master plan of the railway, the 25-year development plan, you know, that is started talking about the railways, all the railway roads we are implementing today.
Right.
Yeah, we started there. The Lamata,
yes,
for instance, the BRT. In fact, it was so magnanimous. You see, when we talk of leadership, we know when you have someone who can mentor
others,
others, and give them room to thrive. When he was going to complete the second term, that was when Lamata, you know, came into being, the BRT and the rest of them. And then they said, okay, commission this. And they said, no, I'm not commissioning. Let us leave it for
the next
administration to come and, you know, so that they can start well, you know, like a soft landing. And I also remember when Abatunde Fashola was his chief of staff, and he recognized these qualities. And he would, as chief of staff, you know, they deal with so many things, some personal, some official. And then most of the politicians in Lagos, you know, that Bola Tinubu had gathered, they would say, they had to deal with the chief of staff. And then they will go and meet him and go with all kinds of funny proposals. And when they get to him, he will say, you know, BRF will look at it. He will hold his biro in his left hand and say, there's nothing to approve here. And then he will close the file and
put it aside.
Okay. all those qualities that you have mentioned, aside from those qualities, people have also tagged the president, someone that is very daring and bold. How did those qualities reflected in the way and manner with which he governed Lagos? And you said he's always very creative when it comes to governance. Many people have complained that, okay, it's the president and the situation of the country is not so good as we speak. What are those lessons that we need to take away from the way and manner he governed Lagos, from the way and manner he's governing Nigeria now?
You see, it just reminds me of the inimitable words of Chairman Mao. In shallow men, the fish of small thoughts cause much commotion. In magnanimous oceanic minds, the whales of inspiration hardly cause a ruffle. So, and that encapsulates, you know, the totality of, you know, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable spirit. If you remember, in 2003, when all the Western states were taken over by the PDP, you know, with President Olusegun Obasanjo marshalling everything. No, he was the last man standing. You know, all those, because when they were negotiating, when all the governors were negotiating with President Obasanjo, he told them, he said, this man is a fox. He will deceive you, because what he was saying at that time was that vote for me, I'll also ensure that the man said you are making a mistake. When you want to eat with the devil, you will have a long spoon or a fork. So he told them that time that this is a mistake. I am not going to fall for this trap. I'm going to hold my area. And it was, you know, resilient. It was focused on what he wanted to do. And he was telling them, if you bring out 10,000 people, I'll bring out 100,000 to counter whatever you bring them. And that was how he was able to resist everything President Obasanjo and Atiku Abubakar did that time to take over Lagos. He said, no, this is the last bastion of the progressives in Nigeria. I'm not going to allow it. And he succeeded. And so what I'm saying is the indomitable will of the guy that has seen him up to this level. Right. So if you don't have that, if you don't have the focus and the tenacity, you know, to walk your talk, they will shove you by the side. And whatever you see now, you see bravery, you see courage, because that is what it stands for. he told everybody from the outset when he was becoming president that, look, we are going to do away with this subsidy regime. We are going to float the naira, because what we have been doing is unsustainable. Right. We cannot. I mean, that's a clear direction that this is the way I'm going, regardless of what you so. Yeah, I remember in one of the episodes he had, when people were talking to him about the subsidy, he said, I'm going to remove it. He said, subsidy? No. It might not be one of the best orators. It might not, it might not be an Oshiomole when we talk about, when
use the words and language.
Yeah, but he knows exactly what he wants.
Right.
And he has the capacity to get people and rally people behind him. He knows how to spot talent and say, these are the people I'm going to use. And it will depend on them. They will debate. I remember that time, the State Executive Council, Dr. Moise Banere will tell me that, I don't know, we have been debating this issue for 5 hours. I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Let us I say, continue now. Because this man, you have to convince him
why you're taking that
you are taking that position. Right. And the moment he realizes that there's merit in what you're saying, he will say, I concur. I will get you next time. And that is the way he operated with his team.
Lagos, right.
That's why many people will still gather around him and say, this is a man that spots talent. This is a man that will nurture people from the grassroots to the national level. And we have, testimonies of that all over the place.
Look, valid point you've raised here, and I'd like for you to sustain one of the things you raised here, and that is looking at him as a master of political networking and alliance building. If nothing, this man is one who also, like you said, spot talents, build on it, and use them to his own advantage at the end of the day. So as we look at his mastery in that aspect, let's also look at how in the last 2 years he has been resilient and also succeeded amidst controversies. Does this also have to do with his personality as being one who is also able to convince people and run along with the vision of others, even as the president?
Oh, absolutely. I'll give you one example. When he was going to make BRF the governor candidate in Lagos,
right.
You know how it started. How politicians never agreed. How people even said, "How can you bring this man for us? The man that was not cooperating with us, the man that would not sign anything for us." And he told them, "I am the one that have seen this guy. When I was in exile, he was my lawyer. I trusted him with a lot of things. And when I returned, everything I had was intact."
Right.
So, in terms of integrity, this guy is there. In terms of knowledge, he's there. In terms of composure, how calm he is, how deep he is, this man is there. So I'm not telling you that don't let us look at what he has done to us individually. Let us look at what is good for the state. And everybody started shouting, no. He insisted. He said, look, if you have a point, I will allow it to fly. But on this one, I have seen it, and this is what we are going to do. Right. And that's how BRF became governor.
The
candidate of the and eventually the governor. And it turned out to be the actualizer that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu envisioned. Yeah. So, and then you look at the headwinds that he had to face after becoming president. The elimination of fuel subsidy and then the floating of the naira. And everywhere, everything went berserk. And he said, look, this is a stormy weather. We are going to weather it together, we are already convinced that this is the way to go. You cannot make omelets without breaking eggs. Some things will have to give. Look, if I prevaricate and say I'm not going to do it, no one will come after me and be able to do it. So this is an opportunity to write my name in the sands of time, that I stop this hemorrhage that is happening to Nigeria, because there was no way we could have sustained, you know, the fuel subsidy and the subsidy of Forex. Indeed, it was a subsidy too of Forex. There was no way we would have sustained it. And this has been happening to us right from Gowon's time, when we were supposed to allow the Naira to, you know, find its level, but we never allowed it. And the kind of development that we would have enjoyed never came, because our Naira was overvalued. So he said, look, we are going to steady the ship. Let us sit down and think of what we are going to do. And every time, he also confessed to it that at a stage
he wanted to run away.
He wanted to run away because the pressure was too much. The pressure was too much. But it takes a man of indomitable will to say no.
I will not be cowed.
This will not happen. Let us stay on course and do what is necessary. You know, it took some steps that are politically dangerous but economically sound to stay on course. And I think the initial weather
is becoming stable.
It's becoming stable now, and our hope is that we'll build on it.
Okay.
And when we build on it, like this is like laying a new foundation for the country to prosper, because there was no way we would have experienced growth and development the way we were going.
Okay, look, man, 2 years down the line now, those risks that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu took, are there signals, are there signs that it's going to make Nigeria better? And for those who are out there complaining that things are tight, would there be light at the end of the tunnel?
Oh, things will definitely be tight. That's why I said, you know, you cannot make omelets without breaking eggs. It will happen. We'll face political headwinds, we'll face economic headwinds, we'll face all those things. But, you know, it's like when you want to build and you're laying the foundation, many people will not see it. Many people will not see the building. They will just say, what is this man drawing on the floor? That is what a foundation looks like. But when it starts, you know, mounting the blocks, and then it gets to the lintel, say, oh, that is the window. And then you move further, oh, okay, the window is now closed, and they are now putting the roof. So when they put the roof, say, oh, okay, this is a house, actually. And then you start the inner design and the painting and the wiring, and when you start the painting, you say, oh, it is this is aesthetics. So that is how it is, and that is how it's going to be, because we can now see. You know, we have seen investments coming in, and promise of more investments coming in. The states are no longer complaining the way they were doing.
Yes, because
they are now paying their debt. I mean, some states have paid up to 80%, 90% of their debt that they owed for a long time. In 2 years, they have done it. So that's why the governors also realized that, so we have been suffering. Yeah. So there's something that's, there is light at the end of the tunnel here. And we can see the results coming in little by little. So all we need to do is sustain it. We can no longer go back to Egypt. No, we are not. We have left Egypt. We are now going to the promised land.
Okay. As we go to the promised land, I'd like to take, the last message from former President Muhammadu Buhari. While, congratulating Mr. President on his midterm, he did say, and I quote, "I am wishing President Tinubu heartfelt congratulations on his 2 years in office. May you keep leading with wisdom and care." So, as he wishes him well, and then, urge him to lead with wisdom and care, also, what role will the age of Mr. President play here? as you know, he's been urged to lead with wisdom and care?
Oh, that's that's what I said. In fact, I think the words of Mahatma Gandhi that said, strength does not come from physical capacity.
Right.
It comes from an indomitable will. Those are the words of Mahatma Gandhi. So it's about the will.
Okay.
Because you're not going there to do any wrestling match. It's just
It's
your,
just your
it's
thoughts,
your acumen.
your ability
The political acumen that you have to put in place to navigate the seas. So it is about, if you have the mental capacity to carry along what you have started, we know you have the will. We know you can use the talents around you. We know you can guide the ship. We know you can do all that. So keep yourself healthy so that you'll be able to do it better than you have done it now. Because, it's only when a man is of sound body and health, that you can
deliver
that you can deliver. So keep yourself in good shape so that we can use your brain to the maximum, use your will and capacity to better things in Nigeria the way it has been. I remember President Muhammadu Buhari called him a steadfast leader, politically stable, a politically stable and steadfast leader. He said he has not seen anyone like that. Even President Obasanjo, when he talks about politics, he put it in his own book that when it's about politics, don't come to me. Go and meet Bola Tinubu.
Of Lagos.
Yes, of Lagos. That is the man you have to talk to. And it is recognized like that. All those who have faced him in battle know what has hit them. And that's why you have many people that like him, love him 100%, and you also have many people that hate him 100%.
Oh, definitely.
Those because you remember in 2015, he had to go and bring Muhammadu Buhari out of retirement because President Buhari had said he was no longer interested. He was done after 3 times. And and that was the time the PDP had their rigging machinery in place. So there was no way. And President Bola Tinubu spotted him and said, look, this man has been consistent with 12 million votes every time, except for the time of Yaradua, that he had 6 million votes in the north. And we all know, even President Yaradua came out and said, no, that was a heist. So we all knew that. So he knew that he had the followership. This is the man we need to use to take power. Because, PDP had said they were going to rule for 60 years. And he said, no, you're not going to rule for 60 years. We'll find a way around it. And little by little, he put up the strategy and made everything work. He brought him out and said, I'm going to support you till the end. And that was how, in 2015, they sent away an incumbent president, which had never happened in Nigeria before. So we don't expect all those that were sent away in 2015 to be charming and smile with Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So that was the first line of enemies he had.
Right.
So those ones are consistent. They will always be there. There's no way. So there are two personalities particularly, Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Muhammadu Buhari. They will never like them, regardless of what they do. Even if they put air conditioners in the air, they will never say it. When President Buhari was building the second Niger bridge, they were still saying, even when the thing had gone halfway, they said, he's still deceiving us. Yeah. There's nothing. It will not come and when he even finished, they said, is it bridge you are going to chop? So there's no way they will not recognize his genius. So we have agreed on that one, that they are diametrically opposed to each other. So that 2015 was something. You remember when they were counting, and the guy that made a scene, what's his name? Orubebe. Orubebe was so distraught. He just couldn't He just couldn't fathom it.
What's going
What's
on?
going on? You mean we are going? And at the end of the day, you know, President Jonathan saved the day and said, look, there is no way. We tried everything possible. Even without the votes coming in from Borno State, we have lost. So let us just concede, unless we want to send Nigeria on war path. And that is something we don't want to do.
Okay, look, man, Lagos is what it is today because of the consistency of a particular political party and, of course, government policies and the roadmap of 25 years, like you rightly said. Some of those foundations that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is laying today, are you afraid that if at the end of his 8 years, if he's re-elected as president, are you afraid or doubtful as to what is going to happen to those foundations that is laying today? Because the kind of influence that he had in Lagos, he might not be able to have that in Nigeria.
No, it won't happen there. But the thing is, as long as people can see what you have put on the ground and they see that it is yielding results, if it is yielding results, if it's not yielding results, they will do away with it easily and nobody will question them. But if it is yielding results, if those things are yielding results, it will be very difficult for anybody to come and say. I mean, it will be foolhardy for any government, let's even say 2027, to come in now and say, I'm going to pay subsidy. It will be foolhardy for any government to do that. Because even those who are against subsidy today will say, no. We know what subsidy was like. We know. We are only shouting because we are in opposition. It does not mean you should go back to those kind of policies. No, we don't want. Let us continue on this trajectory. It's a trajectory of growth. It's a trajectory of development. So it will be difficult for anybody. So as long as those policies are yielding, see, the greatest challenge facing any woman is the choice of a good husband. But by the time a woman is wise enough to choose a good husband, she's already married. So one has to think carefully what you do, particularly when it comes to nation building. So most of those policies that are here now, I believe are going to be sustainable. I believe are going to be sustained, regardless of who comes in after Bola Tinubu leaves. So I have no fear at all because he has already weathered the storm. He has faced the headwinds. He has sacrificed himself to put us on the right footing. So now, anybody that comes in only needs to build on what he has consolidated.
Before we allow you to go this morning very quickly, in about a minute, I mean, is there anything that you would wish for Asiwaju to consolidate on in the next 2 years of his administration? I mean, one cannot be perfect. There are areas that you might also think that, okay, if there was, maybe he could do this, do that. So for you, one or two areas that you'd like for him to work better on? See,
mine is actually personal. See, nobody is perfect.
Sure.
Nobody is perfect. And Asiwaju too has his own weakness. You know, he's a very forgiving man. He's a very forgiving man. Regardless of what you do to him, he will take you back in, but he never forgets. So I don't know whether that is a virtue or a weakness. Because sometimes he affects him in the kind of personnel he should have around him. I don't want to go much into you know, there are some people, there are some people that have been left out that would have made a difference, better difference, if they were around him now. So that, I don't think you can do much about it. I don't think you can teach an old monkey new tricks. But we have to take him the way he is. Nobody that will come in that will not have his own flaws. So we take it as that, okay, we have to live with it. This is his own major flaw, but the one he has, let us take advantage of that. That is the way it goes.
Well, I would have to leave this conversation here this morning. Thank you so much, Lukman Wolabi, for sharing your photos on the program.
Pleasure is mine.
All right, we've been talking about the man, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his personality, his political journey, and how much of an asset he could be to Nigeria, especially now that he's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We'll take a quick break. When the conversation returns, it will be the turn of another guest to take a look at the administration of Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu here in